It's me, it's Queen Osset Haru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Okay, guys, so today, you guys know I always have a lot to say. Today, I want to talk about relationships again because I get a lot of messages about relationships. And you guys know I've been in a lot of relationships, a lot of situationships, and I've been around them. I've talked to a lot of people through relationships, good ones and bad ones. And I come from a very large family. And my family, of course, from my very inception, had relationship issues from day one. My parents weren't even technically together when I was born. They were married, but not talking. One of them kind of things. I think like they were giving each other the silent treatment or something, that kind of thing. But I have a lot of family members. My grandmother had 13 biological children. And out of those 13 kids, I have like 30 cousins. So I've heard every scenario you can possibly imagine. I have a cousin who one time caught her boyfriend cheating, walking down the street, caught him cheating, ran up, punched him in his face and the girl in the face, started fighting both of them. All of them got arrested. Everybody went to jail that day. And my uncle had to go get her. It was awful. My next door neighbor was fist fighting on the lawn, her man, her kid's father, on Christmas Day, fist fighting. The cops came, he got arrested. Another couple I knew when I lived in Chester, and this was on the news, stabbed each other to death on Christmas Day on the lawn. Very common for people, for some reason, to fight on the lawn. And they stabbed each other to death, left behind children. It was awful. It was awful. The whole city was talking about it. And so I've seen a lot of dysfunction. I've seen a lot of good relationships too. I had a couple family members with some strong relationships that are still lasting now that I think about it. One died, and that one ended when he died, and the other ones are still going. So I've seen a lot of good relationships, but a lot of dysfunction. So I decided to make a list for you guys. The accumulation of 42 years of watching and being in dysfunctional relationships. I've come up with a list of the top 10 things that people do that lead them down that road. So if you're not in a relationship, check out this list and make sure that you don't do these things when you do get in a relationship. And if you are in a relationship, stop doing these things, because this is what's keeping your relationship fucked up. Okay? If you can change this, or maybe it's time to leave that person, whatever. But if you're doing these things, you're either going to end up with a messed up relationship or no relationship at all, depending upon how the other person responds to you, or both of you in some cases, doing these things. Because I'm very clear, in a lot of cases, is two people. It's not just one person in most cases doing everything. In most cases, is both of them doing things to each other, or is one of them doing things and the other one's responses to them are not helping. They're not doing anything for the situation. So that's why I personally sat out having relationships for the past couple years. First of all, because I think I've had plenty of them, and I was like, I'm going to sit this out. Secondly, I saw myself doing some of these things, probably maybe even all these things at one point in time. And I'm like, this isn't good. Let me get myself over this. Let me get myself to a better space. So I'm going to read you this list, and I'm going to tell you the top 10 things that people do to sabotage their own romantic relationships of all sun signs, not just Aquarius. Number 1, dishonesty. I see so much dishonesty. People who are not honest about their feelings, people who are not honest about huge secrets like who's the real baby's father, or who has kids by a woman in another country, another state, another town, and their wife doesn't know, who has STDs and hasn't told their wife or husband. I've seen so many of these things. So much dishonesty, just so much. I see it every single day. And the worst one is when people are just not being honest about their feelings, not even showing up in the relationship to say, where they are, so they can't even get better because they're not telling the other person the truth. That's awful. That's number one. I see so much dishonesty. And if you're being dishonest with your partner, you have to come away from that. You have to find a way for both of you to be honest with each other, to spill the beans and move on from that point. You can't move with someone and you harboring dishonesty, because if they catch you in the dishonesty, or they've caught you in the past, or if they just feel it, they're not going to trust you. And a relationship with no trust is no relationship at all. Infidelity, number 2. I see so much infidelity. This is like, oh my God, why are you in a relationship if you're going to be unfaithful every week with a different person? Why are you in the relationship? Bottom line, if you're going to be unfaithful, you might as well be single or in an open relationship. Either one of those two things could work for you. Apparently, you're not monogamous. Stop pretending to be. Stop telling people you are. Tell them up front you're not monogamous. Stop being a little bitch about it. I don't even know how to put it any other kind of way. There's no other way to put it. Just man or woman or witch up, as we say, and just be honest. Yo, I'm not monogamous. Say it up front. And think of something else. Date somebody who is okay with that, or, you just be honest with the person. Like, what the heck? 3, not communicating. Some people just won't communicate. Their lover brings something up and they don't want to talk about it. Their lover says, this is a problem. Years and years later, they've never addressed it. You have to communicate with your partner. I say this on this channel all the time. You have to communicate. So if that's a problem for you, it is a skill. Go to a workshop and learn it. You cannot not communicate with your partner. That's not going to work. 4, being unwilling to work through issues. If you are unwilling to work through an issue in your relationship, you are being unfair to the relationship and unfair to your partner. You can't be in a relationship and not work through the issues. Some couples need therapy so fucking bad. They need it so bad, and one of them just keeps refusing. And they don't do anything about the issues. They just ignore the issues like they're going to go away. They scream about them every once in a while, but nothing really changes. That's not going to work. You have to be willing to work through your issues. You have to be willing to talk to somebody. You have to be willing to do self-help books. You have to be willing to forgive. So many couples will not forgive each other for something they did 20 years ago. You have to be willing to forgive. If you can't work through issues, leave the person alone, because you're wasting both of y'all time. 5, being abusive. If you're going to be smacking your lover, cussing them out, throwing bleach on their clothes, calling them names, verbally abusing them, sexually abusing them, if you're going to be doing that kind of stuff to your partner, you don't belong and you don't deserve a partner. If you're going to abuse your partner, you're not ready for a partner. So stop being with people and go get some counseling and work on your abusive issues. Figure out why you're doing that to people and stop it. It's something inside of you. Fix it before you impose yourself on other people. Being abusive in a relationship is always going to cause problems. 6, being petty and immature. I know so many couples that do tit for tat shit. I know this one couple, the man cheated, so the woman cheated. So the man cheated again, so the woman cheated again. So now every 6 months, one of them cheats to get back at the other one. And they won't leave each other alone. So I'm like, you've been together for 15 years, and for 13 of those 15, you've been cheating on each other back and forth. It doesn't make any sense. It's just tit for tat, petty immaturity. One person gives the other person a silent treatment, so then the other person ups them and is silent longer. I mean, just like, none of this helps your relationship. None of this makes things better. All of these things make it worse. So what the hell are you doing? If you're going to be petty and immature, grow up. You need grown-ups in relationships. Relationships are not easy. That's why I stood back, because I was like, this shit hard. Let me figure this out real quick. This is not easy. So if you're petty and immature, you're not ready for a relationship. Grow up and then get into a relationship. Being petty with your partner is never going to get you what you want from them. It's never going to get you a good relationship. 9 times out of 10, it's just going to cause more fights, more resentments, more anger, more negativity. And you need the opposite of that. So just go sit down, boo boo. You're not ready for relationships. 7, gossiping about your relationships or your partner. A friend of mine told me the thing that hurt her the most was when she caught her lover gossiping about their relationship with his friends. Now, I don't know what happened with men, because I remember a time when men didn't gossip. But these men nowadays, they gossip. I think I will argue that men always gossiped at the barbershop, for example. But now they call each other and gossip like women do. So this guy was calling his best friend, gossiping about how she was going to get evicted. Now, mind you, you live there too. So if she getting evicted, you getting evicted too. Okay? But he was gossiping on the phone about how she was getting evicted. And she said it was nothing more hurtful to her than to walk in and hear him gossiping and laughing and joking about how they were about to get fucking thrown in the street. Now, luckily for her, she got the money and she was able to pay the rent and everything was okay. But that relationship ended very shortly after that because she was heartbroken over that. Why are you on the phone gossiping about your relationship? If you need somebody to talk to about your relationship, talk to your pastor. Talk to your tarot reader. Talk to your priestess. Talk to, a professional, your therapist, your psychiatrist. Talk to a grief counselor. Don't talk and gossip about your partner and your partner's business and your relationship just for kicks. That is really fucked up, number one. And number two, if that shit get back to your partner, like it got back to her in this case, she walked in and heard it, and he didn't hear her walk in. So she just stood there and listened, and they was on the speakerphone just, oh yeah, she gonna get put out. That's on her. I'm going to go stay with my mom. Da 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 da. Like, who does that? And she just stopped messing with him after that. Very shortly after that, it was really bad. 8, not speaking your partner's love language. This is death to your relationship. You have to figure out what is your partner's love language. After this video, I'm going to leave a link to the love language quiz so you can find out, if you want to, your partner's love language. Your partner's love language is how they like to be loved. And all of us like it expressed in a different way. Some people like words of encouragement and affirmation. You look beautiful. You're doing a great job. I love the dinner you made today. Some people like physical touch, kissing, holding, touching. Some people, like me, like gifts, precious gifts, important things, not even always expensive things, just things that mean something to me. Gifts is my number 1 love language. When you take the quiz, they give you them in order. It's 5 of them, and they give them to you in order. My number 1 is gifts. When people give me gifts, that's my love language. It speaks love to me. Some people don't like gifts. It says nothing to them. Words of affirmation was my least. It was the least one, because to me, talk is cheap. I don't need to hear that shit. Talk is cheap, Show me, demonstrations, Acts of service was another high one for me. Do things for me. Show me that you love me. So learn your partner's love language. How do they need to have love expressed to them? You might be giving them the wrong love language. You might be giving them your love language. Let's say you need words of encouragement and affirmation in your relationship, and that's what you're giving your partner. But your partner's like me and thinks that talk is cheap, and all they really want is precious gifts and precious moments with you. That's all your partner wants. But you just keep on giving them words of encouragement and playing lip service, as we would call it. You see? So find out what your partner's love language is, because if you're not loving them in the right language, they might not even realize you're loving them, or they might not be receiving it how it's being given. 9, refusing to be vulnerable. If you're not going to be vulnerable, then you're not going to fall in love. You're not. So if you're not going to be vulnerable and open up to another person, then you might as well not be in a relationship. Just date and have sex, because you're not giving of yourself in that way. And sometimes we can't. Sometimes we can't be vulnerable, and that's okay. So that's an exercise that you might not need to do right now until you can be vulnerable. You can't fall in love if you're not willing to be vulnerable. And last, not being reciprocal in your relationships. You know, a lot of times I tell you guys about Voldemort. One of the things that Voldemort does is live off women. So if you're living off of other women or living off of men, in some examples, you're not being reciprocal in your relationship. You're taking, you know? And you're not, and this is financially speaking, but this doesn't have to be financially speaking. It could be a number of different things. Reciprocity is about giving and receiving. You're both giving and you're both receiving simultaneously. Sometimes one of you might be weak and can't give for that moment, but you get back up, you see? So if you're living off your lover and not contributing to the household, if you're not helping out, if you are contributing financially but not helping with any of the cleaning or any of the other things that your partner has to do for the both of you. A lot of men are guilty of this. They don't want to help clean. They don't want to help cook. Those are things that, hey, we all work now. So I'm not home baking cookies all day, dude. We both got to take care of this, Likewise, some women don't want to work. They just want to stay home and chill. And if that's cool for your family, that's fine, because I don't see nothing wrong with it. But if there's no reciprocity in it, or if the husband or the boyfriend or whoever he is isn't cool with it, or if you're at home but not helping, you home all day, you can't clean up, you can't make some sandwiches, you can't do nothing. So reciprocity is when you're both giving and receiving simultaneously. So if you're not being reciprocal in your relationships, then you're just using people, and that's not cool at all. Sometimes you can't give the same thing they're giving, but you can give something. You might be even disabled or, can't work or something like that, but you can give something. But most of the time when I see this, it's not because they can't, it's because they don't want to. Like in the case of Voldemort, he just wants to use people. And women are so vulnerable in some cases for companionship that they let these kind of things happen. Some women, not all. Some men will let this kind of thing happen. So a person who is a user, a narcissist, an abuser, is going to be like, ooh, I see prey. And they're going to use you as long as they can use you. So if you're not being reciprocal or your partner's not being reciprocal, that's a big problem. And that's something that can usually kill a relationship. It's a kiss of death. So these are the top 10 things I've seen personally in my 42 years. Please feel free in the comment section to add to this list of 10, because I bet you we could probably come up with 10 more. That is the kiss of death and the beginning of a dysfunctional relationship. So the bottom line is, guys, you got to treat each other good. You got to cherish each other. And that's not a cliche. It's not an old song. It's the bottom line. If you're not going to cherish your partner, don't have a partner. It's so easy. I've been doing it for years. It's so easy. You can just chill. You don't have to feel pressured into one relationship or another. Okay? Think about this list and pass it on to somebody you know that needs to hear this. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like to send me a gift, my love language, I'll leave my wish list. If you would like to give me a PayPal gift, I will leave my PayPal. If you would like to get a tarot reading done, please feel free to email me. I'll leave my email. I'll also leave my social media in case you want to hit me up on social media. And please feel free to leave a question for Ask an Aquarius. I will answer any general question that I have an answer to. Thanks, guys. See you later.